We are going to speak about Pachinko today, second novel by the Korean-American writer Min Jin Lee. The book was written in 2017, so that's around 3 years ago. Recommended by Barack Obama, so I was curious to read the book. And it was also the New York Times bestseller. Now, the reason we decided to speak about this book and to read it, first of all, was because it's about emigration. And in our country, almost everybody is thinking about emigration. And as a person who has emigrated herself, in the past and moved 5 countries already, I was very curious to compare notes and see what it's about. On the other hand, there was very little I knew about Korean history, especially during the period of this story is based between 1910 and 1989, so it covers around 8 decades of history, 4 generations of a Korean family who move from Korea to Japan. So it's an educational novel, really engrossing for me. I couldn't put the book down, so although it's more than 500 pages, I just had to find out what happens to each person in this story. So what is the story about?
I read the book in the Persian. It's been some censored, but I checked the book with the English version. The story is very interesting and pleasant, but I personally did not like the third part of the book. I think it's different with the other parts, and the writer have some prejudice about the Japanese. All of the Japanese in the book look bad. Even good Japanese in the book have the same moral or sexual problem.
Well, I think it's very difficult to write an unbiased novel about Korea if you're born in Korea and originally Korean. So I don't blame the writer if there is a little bit of maybe prejudice, if she's not very neutral. This is what she's been trying to do. And she says in an interview that she'd been thinking about the problems that Koreans faced when they emigrated to Japan, the stereotypes, the racism that they had to deal with. So in this novel, which is a first actually, for an adult fiction, covering the history of Korea during that period of time, I think this is what she was trying to do, to help us understand, the problems that the Koreans faced. So if there is a little bit of unbiased parts in the book, especially, yes, I agree, the third part of the book, then I think it's not something we can blame her for. And Min Jin Lee studied history at university, and then of course she practiced law for 2 years before she decided to set on a writing career. Now, she believes that to understand history, you have to understand the lives of the minor characters in a society. So if there's some shortcomings, if there's some loops in some history books, it's because they cover the history as seen from the top people, the authorities, those who cause revolutions, who are the perpetrators of wars and so on. But every country is more than these people. It's the minor character, it's the grandmother that is affected by a revolution. It's the grandchild, that is affected by a war going on in that country. And to understand a complex society, she believes we have to understand what happens in the histories of these minor characters in a country. And especially for a complex society like a Korean society, which is influenced by the legacy of the Cold War, the Japanese occupation, World War II, on the one hand, and then on the other hand by Confucianism, Buddhism, Christianity, as well as communism. The best way to understand such a complex society is to read a novel.
One of the interesting point mentioned in the book is the concept of the homeland. Understanding the fact that the homeland as imaginary concept is useful. There were many countries in the past and many people sacrificed their life to preserve them and eventually surrendered to another country. And now the children use the word homeland for the dominant country without any hate. I live in the present. Why should the story of the fight between my homeland and another land in the past make me prejudiced and hate them? carrying hatred, and anger is not a good thing. There is a lot of the anger and prejudice at the present world because of that. In the book, we have a lot of information about the immigration and its problem, especially in the past. But in the modern world, what questions come to my head? Why can't I choose my homeland myself? Because I was born in this part of the world, my nationality and my religion is chosen for me? Or I can't change these things. Naturally, humans deserve to choose their life. Immigration is one of the ways that we can change our life. But before that, we must think what makes us to immigrate. If there are a lot of the problem because of the behavior and rules and culture of our homeland, and we find some place that is similar to our personal attitude or lifestyle, and if that place accepts us, immigration is the best choice. But if we do this because of a good salary or because our friends are doing that or other simple things, if we do thinking and don't adapt ourselves to the new culture, we face a lot of the problem. I don't speak about the refugee. We must know the culture of the new homeland. In the book, we see a lot of the problem for the Sonjo family. Some of this problem come from the Japanese people, but not all of them. Immigration with changing yourself to a new culture is troublemaker. I don't say we must erase our culture, but we must accept a new culture in a good way too. There is one person who doesn't have a problem, and he achieved his point because Kohansu, the man that I am speaking about, changed himself to, and he chose to be a Japanese, not Korean. I like this man. Maybe you tell he is a bad man, he is Yakuza, but he chose the way and he helped Sonja and her family. On the other hand, you see Sonja family, they never change. They live like a Korean in Japan.
That's right. But two or 3 points that came to mind when you were speaking. First of all, what you said about not being able to choose the country that you want to call homeland is undermining even the Western notion of freedom. Okay, because sometimes when I feel like birds have it better, they're not limited by their passports and the place of birth. They can choose where they live. But humans are much more limited, so there is no such freedom. Okay, not even in the West with all its claims. Another thing you mentioned about people adapting themselves, okay, to the new country. There are many beautiful examples in this book. There are so many characters. As I mentioned, I think before, it's quite impossible to spoil such a book in a short video because there are so many characters, so many details, so many unexpected events in the book. And the examples cover the wide range of possibilities for immigrants to react to the new environment. Okay, so there are some people who adapt themselves fully. They adapt to Japanese culture, become Japanese and are happy. Those who become Japanese and are not happy. Those who find it impossible to adapt themselves or even refuse outright, okay, to adapt any Japanese culture into their lives. So this is what happens in real life. People react differently. Sometimes people ask me, because I've been to several countries, is it good to emigrate to this and that country? And I say it completely depends on the person himself. Okay, if he can adapt themselves or they can't. Okay, so it's a very personal thing, very complicated thing. Okay, and people are very different in this respect.
I see a paradox about the immigration. The engine of the positive change in a country is intelligent and brave people. They aren't afraid of change, and these are a few percent of population. If this immigration, because of the problem of the country, there will be no one to fix them. And if the country doesn't move in the good way, the speed of the immigration will increase, and this causes a loop, and everything is going to the bad way. Maybe some of the problem in the world are about this. West absorption, the best of the people from another country.
That's right, that's right. As I said, it's a very complex subject. One needs to think about it, long-term effects on the country or just the individual life, which one is more important, okay? To think about your country, stay put and try to improve things, or just think, well, I just have one life, okay, to live, so let me live it in the best place that I can choose. So, as I said, it's a very personal thing. What I loved about this book was that it showed very beautifully the impact of big political decisions on individual lives. Okay, I think this is something which is food for thoughts. Okay, there was another thing which made me think. It kept repeating this sentence. Many of these Korean, of course, women are very important in this story. Okay, and there's a sentence that keeps cropping up. They say that a woman's lot is to suffer. Okay, so all the time these Koreans who have immigrated, these strong, resilient Korean women who are supporting the family, helping them to adapt themselves. They keep saying this, okay, a woman's lot is to suffer, like some sort of acceptance, okay, that this is, okay, how it is. They accept their lot to suffer. So this is something I need to think about. So thank you for watching us, okay?
Thank you.